I got about four. I got four little. I'm working on three things with Robert Morgan, and I got that one too. So tomorrow may be my day to see where we at on that. You know, right. Well, what about, are the Samaritans still here? Will they do it? Well, somebody cut their trees and got their stumps and then put them right on the side of the street on the Longleaf, you know, on our side. I don't know where they came from. We woke up one morning driving out of Longleaf and we're going, looked like a nice clean place to drop a couple stumps. Let's see what this duck shoot does.
Hammond City Council public hearing agenda, February the 8th, 2022, 5:30 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilman Andrews.
Present.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Present.
Councilman Leon.
Present.
Councilman Wells.
Present.
Councilman Diviterio.
Present.
Public hearing, number one.
An ordinance establishing a temporary 365-day moratorium on the acceptance and processing of subdivision plats, site development plans, or zoning amendments for multifamily housing within the city of Hammond, providing for variances and providing a severability clause. Councilman Diviterio.
Yes, this was introduced, I think, last meeting in December, and they postponed it to this meeting to give time for people to look over and review it, different committees, planning and zoning, the housing committee as well. So here it is now as a public hearing. If anyone has anything input on this matter.
I ask when you come up, ladies and gentlemen, to please speak directly into the mic. Make sure that it's on. Make sure you give your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Joe Meir.
Good evening.
065 High Oaks Trail. I was just looking at is this the latest draft that's in here? Did we not change the draft?
Yeah. Andre, the only thing that was linked is this new one. So we don't have actually linked an ordinance to it. Your wording of the ordinance.
So what happened was, as a result of the discussion at the introduction, there was some concern about the language dealing with the Housing Advisory Committee. So based on that, I just struck through most every reference to the Housing Advisory Committee, except that it had been formed, and except that the the advisory committee is expected to make recommendations, and that to give time for the city to review those recommendations, it would be necessary to establish a moratorium. So that's the only reference. The other wording, there was a little bit more detailed wording that I really took out of the resolution that created the housing group. I just pulled that language, but I struck through all of that, made it much simpler. So there is no substantive change. The only changes are to the whereas section that sets out that the Housing Advisory Committee was formed in 2020 by the City Council, that the council is expected, that the advisory committee is expected to make recommendations to the city regarding single-family housing, and that the city will change if unlimited growth of multifamily projects should occur under the city's existing ordinances before the city can review and consider the recommendations of the Housing Advisory Committee. That's just in the whereas section. Doesn't change substantively any of the terms of the moratorium. So that may be part of the confusion. Joe, that's the one where I sent to you, Joe, for your comment.
So I'm still not really clear. We had sent this ordinance to the Housing Committee and asked for feedback from the Housing Committee on what, about the ordinance. And the consensus of the Housing Committee, and I've got a few of my Housing Committee members here tonight, was that the Housing Committee had nothing to do with the ordinance as it was developed, and wanted us taken out of the ordinance. On a different note, the proposed moratorium, of course, we've got. That's my internet connection. Under the proposed moratorium, there's a number of issues that we're seeing. Taking my hat off from the Housing Committee, putting my personal hat on the length of this proposed moratorium being a year with the renewals of available renewals that could take place as this progresses. The proposed moratorium has the city considered the potential impact of the proposed moratorium on development costs and the likelihood that the increased cost of developing multifamily would be passed on to the people that's leasing those multifamily properties. Those types of impacts on this. Is that my 3 minutes? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Should
Yeah, no, you could go on and finish. I had set the clock before you started. Mr. Andre was talking, both of y'all was talking at the same time.
Thank you, Councilman. The impact on vested rights, property rights. We've got issues happening with that. The inconsistency of what's in the ordinance in special circumstances on the conditions of imposing undue hardship on current property owners that have properties that could be utilized for this purpose. The lack of a clear and objective standard of what's happening with the moratorium, of what's the plan and how it's going to take place, with actual zoning regulations that we presently have on our zoning within our planning development plan. You guys control that already. So if something comes to you that's asking for a change in those areas, you already control that. So this, again, it's a moratorium would not be needed for that. A year-long moratorium on multifamily development is not justified at this point. If the city is concerned about potential negative impacts of multifamily developments on neighboring single-family neighborhoods, then we should consider adopting a limited moratorium that directly addresses the concerns and that applies only to multifamily developments on lots that directly abut to single-family properties. You shouldn't need a moratorium on all rezonings of multifamilies in order to prevent itself from approving the rezoning of a property that it determines not appropriate for multifamily development. The due process is also impacted by this. If developers or property owners have purchased property with the means of, with the plans of developing the property, we're changing due process on that. So again, the moratorium's not clear on how that's going to impact the property owner's rights.
Your time is up, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public?
We at least say what the planning and zoning has set forth? I mean,
Anyone here?
yeah. I mean, one of the reasons we extended this was so planning and zoning could look at it, and we've heard what the housing committee's done, but what planning and zoning, their input would be helpful.
And I apologize, I had sent that over to, I don't know if you were able to get that out.
Yes, we have it.
Oh, okay. On January 6th, the zoning commission had a lengthy discussion on it, and basically their recommendation came down to, when it comes to the moratorium, their recommendation was to, instead of doing 365 days, was to reduce it to 120 days, and to have the city council then have the option to extend that after a public hearing after every 120 days. So that was their recommendation.
And, yeah, thank you, Jeffrey. Just wanted to comment on the whole housing committee. We cleaned up the ordinance, but, the whole confusion there, with the housing committee thinking they're recommending this ordinance and going back and forth. This was presented to help the housing committee, as in when the housing committee is doing a study and we're spending money to hire a consultant, work on issues that they're looking at, code enforcement, infrastructure, single family inventory, multifamily inventory, a variety of issues they're looking at. While they're working on that, and you're steadily approving large complexes and the density, the moratorium would be there to put a pause while they do their study. The year comes from, we have not even engaged the actual consultant yet to do the study, so that's going to take some more time. They're going to probably do the study 3 or 4 months. It may take them longer than that. Then you get the information, process information. So that's where it came. But we're trying to improve and better Hammond as a whole, the city, and that's where it was. It was really to help work together with them to make sure we're planning ahead and growing smart. So, thank you.
I was at the planning and zoning meeting when they discussed it, and I thought an important point was made in that, 360, and I'm not saying this is what was going to happen, but, you put a moratorium for 365 days with goals of a study and recommendations. Anytime government puts a deadline, usually the work begins on the 364th day, right? So you don't have really something to show. So I am summarizing what someone else said, but the idea was making it shorter so that you were calling to task the work that's being done, so you could see that actually something is being done, and you're not just stopping someone's property rights for 365 days. So I thought that was a valid point. I think that 120 days, if I recall correctly, was their compromise. Some of the members thought they would need 365 days, but other ones didn't want to have them for more than 30, and that 120 seemed like a opportunity to allow us or whoever's doing this work to show that something's actually occurring, that we're not just stopping people's property rights for no reason. So I just wanted to add that to the discussion.
And this was introductory, so we introduced it with a year, talking with Andre about and discussing it. It's a starting point. And as far as property rights, it's not infringing on property rights. If there's somebody that has their property zoned for multifamily and it's a legitimate and it's, and it's something they feel strong about, that they can always have it's a variance. They could come force to council during that period of time. If for some reason there's a hardship that, we need to be recognized with as a council, we can review it. And that's pretty much, these large projects like this, they don't happen overnight. It's a lot of planning involved with it. I pulled the permits. Well, I asked last Wednesday to get the permits that were pulled for permitted for multifamily housing 4+ units. And I got them this week, yesterday, and we weren't talking about too many. I think it was about 10, and 5 of them were the same pretty much property. And then I think it was about 2 different developers, and they've been in the works with these projects for a long time. So it didn't happen overnight, and so yeah, and you have to start somewhere. And I asked any other projects in the works, and I didn't get any on the email. So yeah. So as far as that goes, at the end of the day, this should be a good thing. Moratorium sometimes is scary to people, but it's to pause and try to plan and prepare for the future, so Hammond grows correctly and has the infrastructure together as far as drainage and sewer and other issues that we have for growing like we are right now. So, thank you.
And I think to add on, I met with 2 of planning and zoning, and I talked to them, and good conversations come out of it. And one of them, he was surprised to know that in District 3, that we have raw sewer in 2022 coming out the man covers and coming in people's homes as of right now. And so he said he wasn't even aware of that. And I said, yeah. He said, I didn't know that until you start talking at the council meeting. I said, yes, this is what we experience. So that being said, and right, I've been trying to build stuff in Hammond a long time, and when it come to rights, the city always tell me what I can build and what I can't build. So I think I lost my rights a long time ago. Nobody never told me about a variance or nothing else. And I said that to say this here. We have a lot of infrastructure that's going on in District 3, and now it's spilling over into Councilman Sam district. And you might not have a sewer issue at your house, but I deal with it all the times in my district. And what's going on and what I see, a lot of the places are being built, just the other day, this weekend, the one off on the back of Magnolia, you should have saw how much water was running off of that property. And so, yeah, we have a problem, and nobody want to address the problem, so a study need to take place. And the only thing that I would like, let's slow it down. Let's see what's going on. So if we build 5 more, if we build 3 more, we don't know what impact we're going to have with the 2 that they done built now. And so, be exact, it's 3 that's being built right now as we speak. And so, we have a problem. And if we rush and if we keep going, St. Tammany do this all the time. They did it with Midline. And you see what happened. Midline end up over here. And so, I've been getting emails, paper mail to my house and things. But you know what? These contractors, I never met them, never talked to them. And how many do it really affect? You bill, and we have problems. I'm planning on being here. I'm not going to leave tomorrow. I'm not going to leave next year. So all these here, multiple family units, and we talked about it over and over again, we have an issue, and it need to be solved. And we cannot solve it just by saying, wash it under the rug. So we're going to discuss it, and I'm going to always vote with what's best for District 3 and the city of Hammond.
And these are high-density developments as well. not single-family homes, not under 4 units. And I'll be honest with you, I've had a lot of, from the public residents live in District 4 and other districts, they've all been pretty, supportive feedback on this issue we have here with traffic and different issues they see. So, I think it's smart sometimes to put the brakes on it and look at it and plan ahead and move Hammond forward, because at the end of the day, I think everybody in here in this room wants Hammond to continue being a better place for everyone. So I think that's all our goal. We all, the ones that live here or love this town, they all want to make sure we're doing the right thing for everybody. So, thank you.
I understand the need to study these large developments. I get that. But this encompasses a smaller developments as well. And that is a little bit of a concern, because, you may have property owners that are wanting to sell land that, they may put 6 or 8 complexes up, and this would not allow for that. And so that property is now not available to be sold. Again, these huge complexes, and I see them out there going towards North Cypress and a lot of them in Councilman Wells's district. Yeah, I mean, that's scary. That's some really big complexes out there. We need to stop and think about how many of those do we really need in Hammond. I do get that. But I guess I do have concerns with, we talking about 500 multifamily units as well as 10 or 12. And where, can we find some middle ground there? The other concern I do have is 365 days. To me, there's no sense of urgency. It's just human nature. If you tell anybody you got a year to do something, 2 months is going to go by and nothing will happen. So if we would back down on that, if we could all agree to back down on that just a little bit and agree to have some type of movement every 30 or 60 days, some type of goals that's going to be accomplished every 60 days to make sure that this happens, and that, again, that we're not sitting here on the, at the end of the year and we have nothing to show for it.
Well, I think this is a big decision to be made, and we're spending money on this consultant, so I don't think rushing anything is a good idea when we're dealing with this. As far as the time frame of a year, I know good and well it's going to take a while to get a study, review it, put some policies in place, so a year's going to blow by, but I'm open to later on, making an amendment to it to 180 days, 6 months, and then with an option to extend that. That's what I'm looking at after studying everything. But I still think that, as far as putting a hearing on somebody who owns property that's trying to sell it, we're talking about 6 months to a year, probably closer to a year. And at the end of the day, you can't make everybody happy. You have to put the people first and try to do what's right to improve Hammond moving forward, and not repeating history of other areas that wish they had the opportunity to put policies in place and improve their planning before they have these large structures, these multi-million-dollar structures. You can't just erase them. You can't just move them, tear them down, move them. They're going to be there for a long time and impact the city for a long time. And I think it's important to plan on that. And I think we're moving in the right direction when we started the committee, and now it started, advancing, and now they're starting to study, code enforcement, I mean, it's going to impact crime in some areas. I mean, there's all different factors on this deal. So, I mean, I think, I just think it's important to look at this hard and make sure we have it in place. We just have a city planner that just got hired not too long ago. We didn't even have a city planner for a while. So I mean, that's a lot of these, I think, projects got approved without a city planner, I think, in place. So, we're moving in the right direction, but it's going to take time. And so that's all I have to say.
Just so we can be clear, that we're not talking about only large apartment buildings. The way that this is worded, Andre, make sure I'm not misstating this. If you have 2, 3 duplexes on a property, that's multifamily.
Well, that's because
Right, so if you had a duplex and like an accessory building, which was a freestanding apartment, say it was someone who wanted to do that and is properly zoned for that, and they met all the requirements, they couldn't do that because that would technically be the same idea as a giant apartment complex, which we all agree we don't necessarily need, but we'd be putting those kinds of projects in the same category under this.
Go through a variance process.
Right, where they would have to come before us and prove to us why it's a good idea.
The challenge is, where do you draw the line? I mean, you might say, make a sound argument for, well, 8 units are not objectionable, but is it, why isn't 10? Or why isn't 12? Or 15? Or 20? So the thought was, just use the same definitions we have now, and for those projects where there's 4, 8, 10, they go through the variance process. So there was an effort to try to allow for those projects that we all would agree, this is not a substantial impact, and this doesn't violate the spirit of what we're trying to do with single-family housing. So that's why the allowance for the variance was.
And also the mixed use was taken out of there too, 50% commercial, 50% residential developments, mixed use projects, buildings, developments, they, that's excluded from the moratorium.
Andre, turn your mic on, please.
So sorry, so sorry. So the other thing I want to mention, I mentioned it in an earlier email. The property rights that I think you should be concerned with are those folks who have already submitted an application but have not yet been approved. So those are ones that I would say, if they've met all the rules and if they've applied for a permit and that's in process and in review, I think those should be allowed to play out. Whether it's approved or denied, those should be played out. Everyone else, I would say, there's no guarantee of a permit, Councilman Wells. There's no, like, as you've mentioned, there's no guarantee of getting approval. So it's going to be hard to say, I've got a right because I bought property to be able to do with it as I please. I think there's a recognition that it's all subject to, a local government being able to regulate, the building and uses of property. So again, the one right I am concerned about are those who have already submitted an application. I don't think the moratorium should apply to those.
And that's what I was working on. Now, Jeffrey, those 10 permits that you sent me, those have already been approved, permitted, everything's done on those. Is that correct? And is there any, I kept asking this last year, is there anything that is earlier stages right now in the last, 180 days I asked for? Is there anything that has not officially gotten a stamp on it and is going back and forth working with y'all right now on anything? Large developments, 4+, like I asked?
Everything we provided to you
Yeah.
was what has been applied for, and that's the only thing we can officially say that it's in the process is what has been applied for. And so everything that has put an application in is what
Okay.
we sent in to you in that email.
Okay, yeah. And I would imagine, the moratorium, it hasn't even been voted on yet and put in place. So obviously, I would think people who have already submitted would have, they don't fall in that category of the moratorium.
Well, that was the statement I have in here about if you've got a previously existing legal right to proceed. You might argue that applies to existing applications, but I would suggest make it clear so there's no misunderstandings in the public that if I've submitted an application, if it's in process, I'm not bound by the moratorium. So that may be something to consider if you're going to make, when it comes time for final adoption, to consider to make a direct statement that the moratorium does not apply to existing applications.
And then it all depends on the date too. Because I'm saying, when this first come up, and what I was afraid of, that people are going to start rushing their applications in. And so it all depends on the date. Now, if somebody sat here and sent something in 2 weeks ago, it's going to be an issue. Because I'm talking about everybody know this was coming up. And then I'm going to say this here. For the ones that buy property, the ones that been buying land, you know the process. And I tell anybody this. When you go buy land, you make sure what the zoning is for. So everybody that know about buying property, you just don't go buy property and don't know what it's zoned for. And so I say this here because I heard it was mentioned. So anybody, and it don't matter who it is, you don't go buy no property, and you don't know the zoning. You need to know the zoning, what you can do with it, and what you can't do with it. Because you buy the property and it wasn't zoned for it, because I deal with a lot of trailers, and it have to be zoned for it. And if it's not zoned for it, don't nobody go get a trailer and thinking they're gonna put it on the lot. And so we know this here. So I heard it was mentioned about buying property. No, so if you want to invest in some property and you go buy it and you don't know the zoning, well, you gonna find out. So realize and don't waste your money on what you're doing. So that's what I say about the property buying. So when these big developers or small developers, whoever buying property, you better check. And a lot of times on Silver Source, let me say this here, because we had this issue. Somebody bought some property in District 3 and went and put a trailer up. And we found out that it was zoned, Silver Source said it was zoned for commercial, but it was residential. So I'm saying this here, we talked about it. I think they supposed to start doing it again, but they just trying to sell a property. So whoever it is who you're buying the property from, know what the zoning is before you purchase the property. Thank you.
Anyone else? Number 2.
An ordinance to declare the mal-apportionment status of the current districting plan of the city's single-member election districts of the city of Hammond, utilizing the population data from the 2020 federal decennial census and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Lacey Landrum.
As described in the past meeting when this was introduced, this is merely a housekeeping formality issue. When we are at the beginning of the redistricting process, we have to recognize that we do not have the right demographics within each district, that we have too many people in some and not enough in the others, according to the new census data. And so you have hired Bill Blair, who gave you those 2 reports. They were also linked up for tonight and on last meeting. And so this just recognizes those demographics and says we are beginning our redistricting plan. We do have to hope to have this all completed by April, May timeframe.
When's the exact cutoff? Is it April something or May? May?
I think it's May 8th.
May 8th.
Anyone else have any questions? Anyone from the public? Thank you, Lacey. Number 3.
An ordinance by Adrian and Vanessa Wells and Lily Scott to revocate a portion of Kansas Street right-of-way and re-subdivide 2 lots in Block 5 into lots 14A and 26A, Colonial Place subdivision located at 707 and 809 Mooney Avenue in accordance with survey by William J. Bodine. PLS Zone RM-2, Jeffrey Leuenberger.
Yeah, this is just a right-of-way revocation, and the zoning commission heard this on January 6th, and they voted it unanimously 4-0 for the revocation of the right-of-way.
Anyone from the public on this matter? Anyone from the council? Thank you, Jeffrey. Number 4.
An ordinance by Richard and Deborah Sims and Doris Wingfield, owner, and Umberto Mata, applicant, to rezone a portion of Lot 3A2 to conform with existing zoning of 3A1 and 3A2, as shown on a survey by William Bodine, PLS dated 7/12/2017, from RS-11.A to MX-C, located at 2405 Old Baton Rouge Highway, RS-11.A, Jeffrey Leuenberger.
This was also a rezoning case. that goes from RS 11A to MXC. The rezoning was to conform to the surrounding area, probably to clean up from when Chauvin Drive was constructed. The zoning commission recommended approval of this at the January 6th meeting, 4-0.
Anyone from the public on this matter? Anyone from the council? Thank you again, Jeffrey. All right, number 5.
An ordinance of TA-2021-04-00022, text amendment to UDC, Ord number 14-5364, Article 6.1.1, residential single-family to revise description in regards to boats or on trailers.
Keep sitting down and forget. This was also brought to the Planning and Zoning Commission to get their suggestions on boats on a trailer, and their recommendation was to amend section 6.1.1 of the UDC to strike boats on a trailer will not be included in this prohibition, to strike that language and then include trailers must be on a hard service, and to allow a 7-day exemption for temporary storage. And I believe Andre has given you a copy of what that would look like. What you're voting on tonight.
Mr. Jeffrey,
Yes.
I think you done come up here about 3 or 4 times, but you never said where you stayed at. I need a resident, please.
Need a what?
Where you stay.
Where I stay.
Yes, where you live.
I work at 219 East Robert Street, but I live in Baton Rouge, 433 Longwood Court, Baton Rouge.
Okay. And you pretty much, everybody know where I'm going with it, but you heard his address. What does the charter state? Please.
Give me a minute here. I'm looking through here. There is a section in the charter which requires department heads to live in the city, and my only thought in my mind would be if the planning and zoning director would be one of those offices. Department heads who are listed would be required to live in the city, and I'm looking here for that right now.
Okay, well, you can keep looking for it, and I guess we can move on with this here, but we have an issue. And for everything we have, we got rules and regulations, and we're gonna do everything the right way. So, you can keep looking for it, but
I have it.
Okay.
It's section 4.01. All department heads during their term of office shall live within the city limits or within a 5-mile radius of the nearest point of the corporate limits. 4.01A.
He's not a department head.
Okay,
He's in the building department, and Robert Morgan is the department head.
okay, but this the one that we have making a lot of decisions for the city. And that's what I want the public to know. It's nothing against Mr. Jeffrey, but we get these department heads working for the building department, making decisions, and him and I, we talked before, and I don't care who it is. If you're making decisions on District 3, please ride out and look at the area before you make decisions. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
We didn't talk about the text amendment?
Well,
The vote?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had no public comment on it.
Yeah. Anyone on number 5 from the public? Any public comment? Anyone else from the council?
Yeah, well, I went and talked to a couple of people that I know that have boats and was telling them what was going on and what we was discussing. And from all of them that have boats, they got their boats on trailers, got their boats on concrete, and got their boats out the way. So they don't have a problem with what's going on. So the ones who have a problem are talking about it. It's one of the opportunities that you can stand up and say what you have to say about it. But we have issues going on with boats. Was it 1 boat, 5 boats, or 10 boats? And I think I made it very clear. I went down to La Place to see how they do with boats. And see, the problem is, I'm not even on planning and zoning. I'm a city councilman. And I got to go do all this here just to make sure I know what I'm talking about. So that's what I did, and I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
and I guess where I'm at with it is, it had it on there for 7 days, the boat could stay there, which, you know, I think that's a long time. Also, the whole fact of being able to park it and move it and park it back, there's a gray area there to where, yeah, I think it's hard to enforce. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I think, you know, improving Hammond as a whole and code enforcement with, you know, boats parked broken down in the front yard, just parked there for 3 or 4 years. I don't think that's real, you know, a good sight for Hammond. You know, I think that's the little problem there we have with that 7-day, 3-day, or no day, you know, to park a boat. I mean, I know a lot of people have boats in the area, and they either have them parked on a concrete slab, you know, in the backyard somewhere, or covered, or in a storage. And if they take it, they may bring it to their house for probably 24 hours or less, and then roll out to wherever they're going fishing, you know. So, I mean, I think that's the little problem I have with it right now.
And when it comes time for final adoption, you can just make that, if you want to amend that or change that 7 days, or any other changes to make to it, that would be a final adoption.
Thank you.
All right, Hammond City Council regular session agenda, February 8th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Council-
Present, I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Present.
Councilman Divatario?
Present.
Councilman Leon?
President.
Councilman Wells?
Present.
Say aye.
Stand for our prayer. Most gracious, loving Father, we just come to you on tonight, giving you the glory and honor and praise, thanking you for who you are, Father God, thanking you for your darling Son who died upon the cross that we too would have access to the tree of life. Father God, we ask that you continue to cover our city, cover our administration right now, dear Heavenly Father, cover our council right now in the districts that we serve. I ask that you continue to protect our police and our firemen as they continue to protect and serve us in our city. Father God, we're not a perfect people, but we strive for perfection. And we ask that everything tonight be done decent and order and pleasing and in your sight, but therefore you will get all the glory and all the honor and all the praise. We thank you for it all, because without you, we are nothing. And Father God, we ask you to continue to cover us and continue to keep us as we continue to move through these storms that we're navigating through day by day. And for that, we give you praise, honor, and glory. In your darling Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. For our pledge of allegiance, I ask that all veterans and active military please render the proper salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Down to our reports. Mayor?
I'd like to thank our citizens. Our report for the sales tax came back from December, which is our best month of the year, obviously, at $1.3 million over budget. So we're looking really good on sales tax for the year, this fiscal year in the city of Hammond. We thank our residents and citizens and everyone around the surrounding areas for shopping and enjoying the city of Hammond.
Council reports?
Well, we had a ribbon cutting this morning in District 4. Chick-fil-A did a little ribbon cutting. I'm glad to have them in the city of Hammond. I'm also glad to have them in District 4. It was a great addition in District 4, and hopefully possible other growth in that area. I want to thank the parish and administration working with the state and getting what needed to get done to make sure that they're there and opening tomorrow, I think, to the public. So yeah, I'm glad to see it. It was a good turnout, and I wish them the best of luck.
We have I wanted to announce they're doing Keep Hammond Beautiful is doing a cleanup in Clark Park this Saturday at 10 a.m. There's a lot of storm debris and things over there, so hopefully people come out and help clean up that Clark Park.
Councilman Leon, report?
Pete, do you have the dates on the final cleanup? I know there's been some press on that, the final cleanup for debris, stumps and all of that. I think you had mentioned that. We just need to mention it again if you have it.
So as Lacey's just said, it begins February 18th, and it'll continue until, we see that substantial final cleanup is done. If anyone has any issues or any places that need to be cleaned up, just please give us a call. Give us the address, and they'll get out there and try to get on it as soon as possible. And then after that, stumps will be the final issue. That apparently is one of the harder things that they need to pick up. A lot of stumps are huge. If you have lots that are vacant, give us a call. Or the recovery company that's a very expensive item to do. Apparently there's a spear-shaped, cone-shaped looking bit that they put on the front of a machine that goes in the middle of the stump and splits it and separates it so they can haul it off. So that will start after the fact. So we still have a good ways to go, so give us a call. Address is important to getting it picked up. Thank you.
Councilman Will?
Yes. I have a lot of reports. 711 Phoenix Square. I got a pickup there. It's not no stump. 1101 Natchez debris. 1102 Mooney Avenue. 1107 Mooney Avenue. 1501 Skinner. 110 Brent Street off of Mississippi Street. 709 J.W. Davis. And this is going to be my last time, I mean it, riding out looking for debris. The city workers can ride out, look for the debris, and write down the addresses. So I'm not going to call no more addresses out no more, because the city worker, they can start doing that.
They've been doing that. They do that every week through the street department, and I do it as well.
All right, thank you. Now, in Mooney Park, the new bathroom in Mooney Park, I went today, they was locked. So what's going on with Mooney Park, the new bathrooms?
I don't know why it would have been locked. What time did you go today? Do you remember?
Yes, at 12 o'clock, Marcus and the IT man back here and Tommy
From
Locksmith,
yeah.
they was all in the park. Then you had some other city workers in the park doing electrical work.
Yeah, they're having to reroute all of that electrical because the electrical panel that was called for is not in supply anywhere in the United States. And so now they are digging up the electrical and redoing it to go into a panel that is available. We did ask whether that panel could be fabricated by a welder, and Entergy said no. We also asked about a temporary pole for light service, and they said no. So we are now digging up the electrical so that it can be run in a different type of panel that is available, so we don't have any more delays in getting power to the park.
Okay. When will the old bathroom be tore down?
I do not know that at this time. They're focused on getting the new stuff all up and going before they come in and demo something else.
Okay. So, need an update on the drainage and the sidewalk improvement in District 3.
That is under design. I don't remember when Chuck said it was coming out, but any day now is coming out for bid.
Yes, but this was passed in, July?
Right, but we focused on the sewer needs first, and so all the sewer project was designed and went out for bid and has been awarded. That was the first priority. The next big priority is the sidewalk and drainage. The other priorities that have already been discussed is the improvements at Jackson Park.
Okay, now that you said the sewer, when they started on the sewer job?
I believe they have already started. I know they did the SSES, which was the survey of all the sewer work that had to be completed before some of the rehab could start. But if you're speaking about the lift stations on Mississippi and on Mooney and about decoupling all those force mains, the 3 force mains that are probably causing some of that backup, that is already underway. Lawson Bonet won that contract and is already underway.
Yeah. And let me get an update on the stop sign for Phoenix and Spruce.
We pulled the crash data. There's been 3 accidents at that intersection in the last 10 years. So the engineer, the street superintendent, yourself can be included, the mayor, and the police all need to sit down and have a meeting to discuss that location of that stop sign.
Repeat that again, please.
The committee will get together and review that intersection for the stop sign. The crash data has already been pulled. There were 3 accidents in the last 10 years.
Okay, and this is what I say. This is what goes on in the community. They have wrecks there all the time that's not being reported. And then the problem is, the resident reach out to me about the speeders going through there. And last time, I think it took me 7 months to get a stop sign. And which I told the residents, I said, last time I got a stop sign, we were so happy, we thought it was Christmas. So are we gonna go through this process again? Because the data that you tell me about, it don't goes with the neighborhood. And you telling me it's been 3 wrecks in the last 10 years. That don't go with the neighborhood. And see, right now, I just saw a resident from the community shaking her head. And then let me say this here. Now that you said that, right there on Phoenix Square, the city of Hammond itself was pulling a trailer and lost a trailer on that same street because of speed and didn't take time to check the trailer to make sure it was hooked up properly. So, see what I say about data? When it comes to a stop sign, we're just talking about a stop sign. Another issue I'm having, on Natchez Street, the retention pond, it's an awful smell. It stinks back there, and the residents, they telling me about it. What could we do about it?
We are working on building the other pond back there. I don't know that that's necessarily going to change the smell. That has been a sewer treatment plant for many years.
Yeah, but that ain't gonna change the smell. Okay, let me keep going. The water meters, are they being read from month to month?
Yes, they are. And after the storm, we actually averaged for a couple of months because of the shortage of workers. But they have been read, and when we have had misreads or so the customer may have thought we've had misreads, we've gone out and reread. Also, since the storm, we haven't charged any late fees just simply because of getting everything back in process, COVID with people back to work. But yes, we are reading meters, and when someone has a problem, we go out and reread, and from what I understand, as of today, most of those rereads are the same readers they read prior to. So to answer your question, the only time they were averaged was right after the storm when we had, people out and dealing with their family lives. But we do read meters every month, and where they had debris on top of meters where we couldn't get to them, we saw that problem with the neighbors that had the problem.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to my question. Are the water meters being read from month to month?
Yes.
Could you say it in the mic, please? Are the water meters being read from month to month?
Said it twice already.
We're gonna have a problem. If I can talk in the mic. So, are the water meters being read month to month?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, the customers, they are telling me the water department is saying that the bills are estimated and they are having high water bills. So, see, this is where the conflict come in at. You the mayor and she the administration, and y'all saying the meters being read from month to month, but in the water department, they telling them they not reading the meters. So
Utility supervisor said today they are reading all of the meters. I don't know who informed this other person that informed you that somebody said that, but a name would be helpful if we could research that issue, because I don't know anyone who takes utility billing who would have said that the meters are being estimated if they were talking about this month or last month.
Well, you have to watch what you say, because I just sent a constituent to the mayor's office last month, in which her meter wasn't being read. And she came to the mayor's office, and the mayor's secretary ended up taking care of the process for her. And that's why I say these things, you can't say what a worker doing when you're not standing over that worker. And I just want to let that be known, because it's too many issues. Some of them are able to pay their water bills. Some of them live on a fixed income. And most of the people in my community, they're on a fixed income. So $125 water bill then turned to $385. And everybody will tell you, I can't talk about nothing I don't know nothing about. And I asked the worker, is it something that I can bring up at the council meeting? And she told me, sure. So I can give you the bill of what she have on that one.
And we'd be happy to do a reread. Anytime there is a misread or anytime there's confusion about a bill, we always send somebody out if requested to go do a reread.
Well, I will say that, my district had a lot of incorrect bills, and I contacted the water department or told them to, and they came back, researched, and they were errors. They had to fix the water bill, and they did. They fixed the water bill. But I don't think they are checking them. I don't think every month. And I've been up to the water department before, and I don't think they've also told me that I don't think they're reading every meter. So who's right, who's wrong, I don't know, but maybe that might be something you may want to check into as administration, just to check to see if they are definitely reading these meters every monthly or not. Or maybe there's some improvement. I'm not too sure, but I definitely have had a lot more issues lately on the billing. And also that the question is, I don't think that they may be reading all the meters every month. So that just may be something y'all may want to look into. So
I've also received a lot of calls on the water bills too, but I've always told them to go back and request that they come back out and read. And sometime I get feedback back, sometime I don't. But that was a concern from some of the citizens, that their bill was significantly higher than what it normally was.
There can be mistakes every month. We have 3 different types of meters that get read, 3 different types of brands. They all have different amounts of numbers that have to be read, depending on the brand and depending on the age of that meter. Some of the meters have to be added together. It's a much more complex process than just taking a quick pass and writing down a number.
And Shalita is very good about meeting with the customer and trying to work out any problems. Sometimes there are problems on the customer side of the line. Sometimes there are problems with the meter itself. We change out meters, and we work with the customer. So Shalita is very good at what she does.
Well, my last one. I was at Lieutenant Miller retirement party at the Police Union Hall. Had a good time. Didn't drink. Didn't smoke. I was being harassed. I don't know if he was a police officer or acting undercover. But the officer at the time, he was recording me going to my truck. And when I got in my truck, I asked him what was going on. And so he scared me. And I say this here because I normally don't go places by myself. But I said I'm going to a police retirement party. Not knowing what was going on or nothing. I got back out my truck because I'm not worried about what you do to me or how you talk to me. But my concern is with my family, my wife in my truck. What gonna take place? And an officer that was on duty, I went and got him and told him, I don't know what's going on, but I need you to escort me to my truck. And what I saw, I even went to Mr. Andre's office, and it wasn't about this, but we had a meeting, and I mentioned it to him. But I want to say this on the record. So if this continue, I am not going to internal affairs. I will personally get the Department of Justice involved myself. I've been stopped several times by the police department. One officer even walked out in the middle of the road on me, downtown, speed limit 25. The chief and I talked about it. I told him whatever you need to do, you could do it in your office. You don't have to take it nowhere. One mistake I had made, because I see how that go, and the officer wasn't no 18 years old. You can't be an old officer walking in the road and thinking, if I was flying, you would have got hit. So I knew I was doing 25. And then I even asked about a radar. Well, show me the radar. And I said that to say this here. These are some of the issues we've been dealing with in my community. And the other two officers was there. I know they work for the city of Hammond. And I don't know if they coached him. I don't know how this here took place. But I'm not going to deal with it. And that's what it's leading to. I'm an elected official. And I have to get harassed like this? No, Mr. Mayor, I know I can't come to you about it, because we already know, which we're about to get into that now. Thank you. That's it.
All right. On February the 22nd of our last meeting of the month, we will have our Wilbert Dangerfield Award. And next week, unless y'all decide if somebody else wanted to chair it, but not actually chair it, oversee the process, the committee will be getting together to go ahead and make the selection for this year.
I think you've done a good job every time, so I'm fine with you doing it. I think that's what our resolution says, is the president's the chair, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Could designate somebody else
Yeah.
to do it if they like. Okay.
No, you've been doing it all this here time, and why let somebody else mess it up?
Thank you for doing that, Kip.
Thank you. You're welcome. One other thing too, I've brought this up several times, and I've received calls periodically on it. The hours I was told is from 7 to 7 doing the construction and work on Medline, and that's not happening some days, I guess. I know that the closest subdivision is the one I received some calls from on sometime. So last night I rode out there personally, and they was a little bit after 8, and they was working on pouring cement for the,
8 p.m.?
it was a little bit after 8, yeah.
Well, yeah, before you say anything. Mr. Andre, this is third time mentioning this. President Kip. What could we come up with, or what could we do if they got a certain time to work? What could we do to make sure they working in their time frame?
Well, they can be issued a citation if they're working beyond the hours that are approved.
Oh, and who would issue out the citation?
I would look at the statutes. That could be the police department could issue a
Yeah.
citation.
Because I'm saying President Kip, this is third time mentioning it, but it's like he talking and it don't make sense for him to keep talking and he not getting nothing done. So, is it anything that we can do as a councilman or what? Because look like they just don't care.
Well, enforcement's an administrative function. You brought that to the attention of the mayor, and I would think that he'll be placing a call to the Medline folks to be sure they're on it. But someone could go out there periodically to check on it. But it is an enforcement issue, and they can be issued a citation if they're working beyond the hours they're approved for.
So in other words, Andre, when I receive these calls, if I have to receive them after this point, I can just let the constituent know to call the police?
Yes.
Okay,
And have them check it.
okay.
Real quick before we forget, Lacey, did you get an update on the Timberlane boring? Or did they start this week or is it next week?
They started with Rue St. Martin.
Okay,
And they
good.
did finish that. I don't think they have started at Timberlane yet. They were
Okay.
waiting on some conduit to come in. So I don't know if they're going to be able to start this week or if it'll be early next week.
But it's here soon, very
Yes,
soon. Okay.
yes.
All
Rue
right.
St. Martin should be, I think, finished is what Robert Morgan told me today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I need to get approval of our minutes from,
Sorry about that, though. I don't think that we got a copy of the minutes. I don't see it in my email. And so I know you were having trouble with your email, so I don't know if anybody else got it, but does anybody recall seeing the minutes? Yeah, I know your email was doing some funny things yesterday, too, so if we could just hold off till the next meeting
Okay,
and just
well-
double check, we've had a chance to look at them. So I make a motion to table.
okay. Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolutions, none. Old business, none. New business, resolution number 1.
A resolution to direct Special Counsel Michael R. Adams to refer the 2017 booking room incident to the District Attorney's Office for the 21st Judicial District, the Office of the Louisiana Attorney General, the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Louisiana, the Civil Rights Division of the United States Department of Justice, and the American Civil Liberties Union for criminal investigation and potential prosecution based upon the report received from Mr. Seth W. Stroughton. Councilman Wells.
Thank you. On December 2017, Chief Bourgeron, who was a sergeant at the time, was seen on the video beating the victim, Mr. Radcliffe, with handcuffs on, beating him with a closed fist several times when Boudreaux was up to be appointed by the mayor. Mr. Boudreaux told me Mr. Radcliffe was grabbing for his gun. I have not seen the video, so I thought Boudreaux was telling me the truth, and he was reaching for his gun. I would have defended myself too if someone was reaching for my weapon. But at that time, not knowing, the guy was reaching for the medication on the desk, which we all saw 2 weeks ago again. On January 2019, I was sworn in as a city councilman, District 3. I know the needs of the community. I know what the community is looking for. I've been in the community my entire life. On February 2019, a 20-second video came out, which I could not see clearly on my cell phone. The entire video came out in August 2020. At that time, Councilwoman Gonzalez and Mr. Andre tried to convince me or advise me to have a town hall meeting. I thought about it, and I said, we need to have a council meeting. We held a special meeting. In the process of having that meeting, approximately 15 black people stood up and spoke. Not one of them said that they didn't commit a crime. All of them talk about how the police department beat them. They didn't say they didn't do nothing wrong. They didn't deserve a beating. That was in 2020. And for 15 people to stand up, which was all black, to say, I ain't do no crime. They didn't say they didn't do a crime. They said the police department beat them. Here it is now, 2022, and now more details have come out because of the investigation. When I first spoke with the chief, after he was approved, he was asking for a raise for the police department. I told him I don't have a problem with a raise, but I wanted the entire department to get a raise. He didn't want the jailers, the clerks, the dispatcher to get a raise. And I told him the raise is for everybody. I went to HR, Miss Loretta, about all the city workers getting a raise. I'm here for all the people. The little people, as they say, the weed eaters, the ones who cut the grass, the ones who pick the paper up every day. The mayor told me if he give a little people the raise, he got to get a big people raise. Every budget session, I always ask the supervisors, can the department use a raise? Each one of them come up here before us. They look over at the mayor and Lacey and say no. Yeah, right. The little workers don't need a raise because they're already getting a raise. The big workers getting a raise, not the little workers, as they say. I want everybody to get a raise, and I'm going to say it again. I want everybody to get a raise until now. I'll be a darn fool to sit here and say the ones in the booking room video deserve a raise for beating people. The mayor didn't even put no one on suspension while the investigation was going on. Here we are again because of the resistance from some of the council members and from the mayor. The lawyer couldn't even get all the information they needed because of the office fought for the subpoena. And still, look what came out the investigation. I took an oath to do my job, to represent District 3 and the city of Hammond. And without a doubt, I do everything in my power to represent District 3 and the city of Hammond. Yep, I get into it with everybody. I done created a lot of enemies, but I done made a lot of friends. I'm gonna keep fighting all day long. But why I keep fighting? When you have a mayor and councils that know right from wrong, but like to say, what's going on doesn't affect me until it hit my community. No, it didn't. Even hit my house, but look how close it got to my house. For the kids, for my nieces and nephew, I'm not fighting for me. I'm fighting for the future. And I don't know how long the fight gonna last, but who will fight? I can only do so much by myself. The community know what's going on. The city of Hammond know what's going on. It puts a black eye on the city. And it's sad that here we still talking about something that happened in 2017, and yet we still trying to cover it up. You can't put a Band-Aid on a cut that's not clean. I respect the mayor. That's his friend, and he's going to support and protect his friend to the end. Here, it's been 3 years later. The mayor lied to the city councilman, and the chief lied to me. I asked the chief to show the video at the council meeting when he was standing before us, and this is what he told me. But not one time did he say that he was under investigation. It was somebody else under investigation. My fellow councilman, I thank you for everything, whether you tried to help or tried to hurt, from this day going forward. Councilman, the mayor, y'all have made me a better city councilman. This is why I want Mr. Adam to send the report to all the agents. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone from the community want to speak? Please give your name and your address, please.
My name is Jermaine Luckett from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 515 Gaudier Lane, apartment 35.
Talking to Mike, please.
Sorry. 515 Gaudier Lane, apartment 35, Jermaine Luckett. At the start of this case, I asked members of the council to decide what type of leaders they wanted to be. And at that time, civil liability seemed to outweigh personal responsibility, destruction of evidence, lying on official documents, and justice for Mr. Kendrick Ratcliffe. The voices of the community cried out for action, but were set aside for fear of monetary losses. In lieu of changing the city ordinance to prevent such a tragedy in the future, this council voted to pursue a third-party entity investigation. That entity found a number of issues it feels should be addressed most urgently. It's been well over a year since I started this case, and in that time I pray the members of this council have found compassion in their hearts. The steps taken to hide this hideous incident were deliberate and fictitious in nature. These steps broke several federal, state, and even local laws. Those who were sworn to uphold the law broke them and purposely covered them up. The request made by the council has been granted, and now I'm going to ask you a new question. what type of leader are you? Will you be a honorable one, or will you be hypocritical? If the position in this city places you above the law, then the city is already lost and should begin anew. This may be the very reason the experts hired in this investigation advise a complete overhaul of the Hammond, Louisiana Police Department. The choices made by the council will be heard around the world. In truth, it has already reached other countries. I've heard a lot of statements calling for the improvement of Hammond. Does this not include the justice system and those who enforce them? History will be made tonight. Which side of history will you be on? The side of the oppressor or the side of reform? Thank you.
Anyone else? Step up, give your name and address, please.
Hello, good evening. How you doing? My name is Kendrick Radliff. I live at 43511 Willowville Road in Hammond, Louisiana. I want to know, and I want to ask the whole council, you know what I'm saying? Y'all went over and over this video from me getting beaten. You know what I'm saying? It's not about a black or white thing. It's about understanding, love, and respect. You know what I'm saying? It's about equality. You know what I'm saying? I want the same thing you want for my family and my friends. You know what I'm saying? For the whole community. I want understanding and know why something could be covered up and pushed to the side like I'm not a human being, like I'm not a man. I pray and hope that y'all find a resolution to this situation and come to an agreement, and I hope for justice and peace and equality. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
And for y'all not knowing, that's the man that was beat. The one did the speaking. And I'm going to tell you, we blessed. We could have had a George Floyd on our hand, but we don't. And for him to stand up, I don't know how he got the courage to do it. And we still round here acting like nothing happened. And for 2 weeks, since Mr. Adam them came up here and spoke, I've been sick. I'm talking about sick to my head, not knowing what's going on, to my stomach. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't wait to get back to this meeting 2 weeks later. All of us saw it. What more do we need? Do we need a death on our hand for the city to wake up? It's not. And it is black and white. And you know why I say it's black and white? It's black and white because this man got beat by officers, got caught on the tape, what they did wrong. And then it's white because the same city of Hammond caught a white guy and put a dog on him. No, it don't affect you. You might not have kids, but it gonna affect somebody that you know. Why we still got to put up with this? Just like I sat there and took an oath for this logo, the city of Hammond, it means a lot to me. Here you got police officers that took an oath, protect and serve. I think we need to take that off the cars in Hammond if we're going to keep going like that. Add the word beat and dogs put on people. This not the Hammond I grew up in. No, it's a whole different Hammond. And you know what I found out and what I realized? It's not Hammond, it's the people. That's what makes a difference. The people make a difference. We know what's going on. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Anyone from the council? Okay.
My My name is Ernestine Scott Gore. I live at 407 White Street. And I'm up here just to say that I just don't think the police department is trained. You know, they just go and hire anybody instead of training them how to be a police. I was at my home, and I got come out to go to the store, to go to my car, and get in, just go do what I had to do. And the police pull up, and my nephew pulled up in my yard, and they was after him, you know, and they claimed he was running, and I'm praying, please don't shoot him. Don't shoot him, please don't shoot him. I mean, when I sit here and hear this here, tears is in my eyes, because I'm thinking they was going to shoot my nephew, and I was telling him to stop, because I didn't want them to shoot him. And he did stop, and he caught up with him in the back of my yard. And they had a whole consultation in my yard, and I'm on my way just to get me, get in my car and go to the store. And this is what I encountered. And then they, you know, I'm trying to talk nice to them, and they want to talk to me any kind of way, because I'm telling you didn't find it. Why did y'all stop him? If you didn't have, they target him, and I know they target him. I know they target him personally. And he didn't have anything. They claim he had something. I don't know what these young people be doing. I don't know what he had. But it's the way they handled them. If you wouldn't target him and handle him that way, they would do better. And what you should be doing as a city of Hammond, trying to find jobs to help these young people get jobs that has been already done a crime and can't find a job because of their past. It's all messed up. And another night, I was coming to get in my car. They had a police down there, George Perkins place where it used to be police car right there, followed me so far. Now, I'm going to the store, and I'm coming to get in my car. What do I have? I don't have nothing. I've never been arrested. I don't have anything. Why would you follow me? You know, why would you, just target the neighborhood? I want you to protect me. Yeah, I really do want you to protect me. But I just don't like when they target our people instead of trying to help them. That's my thing. They need to be trained. They are young. They're not trained. I've been on Mooney Avenue. I was raised on Mooney Avenue. I know about policing, but at the time when I grew up, we had none of this. None of this. But we didn't have the crime either, that we have and the drugs that we have now. But I think they should try like they beat that young man. That's what I was afraid they were going to do to my nephew. And I'm hollering, please don't shoot him, because all over the world you see how they shoot him for no reason at all. And that was my first thought. And I must have had 10 police out there, and he hadn't done a crime. And I don't even know what they're stopping for. He don't know himself. Say he threw something out the car.
Thank you, Ms. Ernestine.
Okay, I want to add to that. I'm her daughter, Stacy Watson. I live at 204 George Perkins Senior Drive. Also, my mother was asking, what did he do? What did he do? And the response that she received from the officer was, you need to go in your house before I arrest you. I'm going to take you to jail. And she said, well, what did I do? I can't ask you a question. So my question is, if something is happening, and to you or to someone, is it not okay to ask a question, what's going on? Is that not okay to ask of an officer?
Ask the mayor.
Yeah, I mean, because I had an incident years ago, and it was sort of the same thing with the police officers, and I should have taken it further, but I didn't. But that's a question that I need to ask. Is it okay if something is going on, even if you're stopped by an officer, to say, what did I do?
I'm gonna let a police officer answer it, but I would suspect that, would the officer in the back of the room come up? I would suspect if they're coming up on a scene, and you said there were 10 people there, so 10 officers, that's a lot of officers, but what generally is this situation when you're telling someone to step back?
I would say basically it was according to what the situation is. I mean, I've plenty of times have calm.
You're talking to Mike, please.
I had plenty of times calm the scene down and answer questions from family and stuff like that. So I don't know what that situation is, so I couldn't answer it. Couldn't talk on that, but I don't see an issue with it.
No, you're fine. But the problem is, now, here it is, a police officer. He don't even know the answer.
I didn't say I didn't know the answer.
Well,
I didn't
she-
know the situation.
Well, I think we're looking for an answer. The problem is, and I'm not, God knows I'm not here to argue with you. They need to know an answer. What do you do in this situation?
I would say you could ask. That would be my answer. It's not illegal to ask.
She did, and I'm saying, see, and I know, and I'm not gonna go back and forth with you, because you remember me.
Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah, you do. And I treated you with respect, right?
And I've always treated you with respect.
Yeah, and we know what happened that night I got stopped. But I'm saying this here, she's an old lady.
Yes, sir.
And what I'm saying is, we don't need somebody at her age. They raised me, family. And I talk about this here, and you see District 3 again. We don't need nobody like this to have a heart attack
Oh, and I agree.
from asking a question. No, we can say that now.
I
But
wasn't there, so
I know. That's why I'm saying, you know.
I'm telling you as a police officer, if a lady like that asked me a question, as soon as I got everything calmed down, I would answer her question.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, and I know, she need to know, because see, this is what I got kids. And as a black man, when my kids get a certain age, see, this is the conversation that nobody want to have. See, when my kids get a certain age, I have to tell them, when you driving, when you get a ticket, that's a Christmas present. We can always pay the ticket, but I can't get you out the grave. See, these are the conversations that we have to have in black households that I'm quite sure y'all households don't have to have. I have to know how to talk to my kids. And I got kids. And guess what? Never got in trouble with the law, because I told them, get the ticket. We can get the ticket. We can pay the ticket. But I can't get you out the grave. And I say this here, that's why these conversations that we try to avoid, that we don't want to have, we need to have them where the community can accept the police department instead of rejecting the police department. And that's what I said from day one. When the mayor got rid of the first chief, cost us $1 million. When the mayor let the second chief go, I heard nothing but great things about him. I wasn't even a city councilman. And then, now we get a third chief, which I'm the one pushed the issue of making him the chief. I wanted a chief, because you know what I wanted? I wanted protection in my community. I wanted patrol in my community. I wanted a relationship with the police department in my community. But guess what? Since he became the chief, everything I wanted went backwards. We don't get the patrol. Everything that him and I talked about, coming out in the park, playing with the kids, playing basketball. See how all this here. And yeah, this is a monster that I created, because you know what? The chief sat there and lied to me. And I took him on his word because of the badge that he had on, not knowing the truth. And now that I see the truth, and it's a bunch of lies, been covering it up for the longest. So when can my community get the trust of the police department? Right now, everybody tell you, from Miss Ernestine to Stacy, all of us, I'm saying we scared. We scared. And we shouldn't have to be in Hammond all these years and still scared of a police as if we 14 years old, just broke in the dollar store and stole some popsicles and running us down. We shouldn't have to go through that at our age.
I'm not saying I don't agree with you. Mr. Wells, you know I've been the lieutenant in the narcotics division for several years. I worked in your community. You've seen me in there before, correct?
Yes.
Have you ever heard anything about me in general abusing anybody?
Well, you know, one of the problems, officer, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I really don't know y'all name. And so by me not knowing y'all name, if somebody tell me y'all name, I don't know y'all name.
My name's Wayne Civic. It's very easy to remember. It's very odd.
Yeah.
You would remember my name.
Yeah. So, me saying that, I know a lot of officers, you know,
Yeah.
the ones that retired, you know, I knew all of
30
them.
years, I ain't gonna be going on myself.
Yeah, but I'm saying that to say this here, you know, I'm not planning on having no issues with the law enforcement. Miss Ernestine wasn't planning on having no issues with the law enforcement. But what
If I was there and Miss Ernestine asked me that, I would have answered her.
well,
Thank you, Wayne.
Yes, sir.
we see what's going on, so. I guess, yeah, somebody got the answer.
So here are your civil rights on that. You have a right by the Supreme Court to observe and even record a police officer carrying out their duties. You cannot be in the proximity to where you will interfere with the investigation. Also, whenever someone is being arrested, they are supposed to be told what they're being arrested or detained for. That is the validity of the stop.
But she said she was at her house. I don't know if everybody caught on to that.
Well, even if she's at a
Yeah.
house, if a police officer comes up to you and say, hey, I'm about to detain you, he has to tell you why for probable cause. He has to state his probable cause. Otherwise, he's just detaining you for no reason, which is illegal. A lot of police officers do that in order to search people. I'm going to detain you. They're going to say, hey, I'm doing this for my protection, but you have to establish, first of all, a need for protection. If I come with my jacket on and the police officer see me, okay, he might handcuff me to check me because my jacket is covering my waistband. If I come out with some basketball shorts and a muscle shirt from the gym and some slippers on, you know, I don't have a weapon.
Yeah, but that's easy to say right now because we standing up here not dealing with the police.
Well, no, that was just
what I'm
telling-
saying.
right.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but when the police come, it's totally different,
It's
and we
totally
know
different.
that.
100% different.
Stephen Quinn, there needs to be a reconstruction because first of all, I'm always say I'm a veteran and I was a veteran to protect and serve and fight for this country. But here in Hammond where I grew up and the history about and the things that I learned is still going on. First of all, you have to understand that police organizations were formed back in the day for the control and catching slaves. And the mentality that the Hammond Police Department have when they come upon black citizens is the same procedures that they carried out with slaves, just rustle them up, no questions, beat them or whatever. That's what it seems as it is today. I don't think a lot of police officers, even the black ones that join the police organizations, know the history about policing. It was formed for slaves. And it's carried over today as far as protecting and serving the community. That's what they say. But across this country today, that's not what it's really about. And here in this city today in Hammond, I'm gonna let you know, I'm a veteran and I've been on both sides of the law. I've been in prison before. I've been in federal prison. And I'm gonna tell you what I found in federal prison. When I say a school of higher learning and education, it's not all criminals in prison. I'm gonna tell you that right now. There are people in prison that are being held because of their rights. When in prison, guess what? Guess who's in there? Lawyers, police chiefs that I sat and talked to. I educated myself to find out. I waited till I was 40 years old to get involved and found out on the other side how things really work. So let me tell you this. It's sad to say in this city from the long history, the policing in this city from the 30s have really not changed. Beatings, tarring and feathering, shootings, killings that's been covered up right here in Hammond. Not any murders as today, but it has happened in this city.
did just want to add one other thing about my situation. I have been working in banking for over the last 30-plus years. I was at a family event. The event got out of hand with some people that came that should not have been there. But me, being the person that I am and trusting in the law that we have, I called the police to come because I did not want it to escalate to anything else. Well, guess who went to jail? I did. And I had done nothing more than call the police. I just wanted to let that be known. So now I have to think before I call an officer.
So let me state this here for the record, for everybody to know. I have nothing against a police officer, a good police officer. I have nothing against him. A bad police officer, he don't need to be working for the city of Hammond. Point blank. So don't sit here and twist the words. A good police officer, I have nothing against the police department where a good officer are. Bad police, yes, I do. So for the record, and we all know, they got good blacks, they got bad blacks. They got good whites, and they got bad whites. So don't sit here and say nothing else. Say exactly what I said. So for the record, everybody know I have nothing against good police officers. The bad ones, I don't want them in Hammond. I don't.
Pleasure of the council. Is there anyone else from the public? Okay.
Hello, Council. Mandy Frank Spraywick. I'm actually a local real estate agent over here in next home in downtown Hammond, and so I'm very involved in our community. And I do want to say, and for you to get to know the police officers better, maybe we should schedule something to where they come to your district and they can talk to your community and talk to your citizens in your area, so they can get to know the policemen better and they can get to know your area better too. I mean, that's just my opinion. But I don't think there's a bunch of terrible cops in Hammond, and I think that this conversation, if I was a Hammond police officer right now, I would feel terrible about myself. Because it's like, you're taking a few people that have done a couple of bad things and compare it to the ones that are doing great things out there. I know a lot of the police force, and there's a lot of great cops in this area. I mean, maybe the reconstruction you start with, if you've had any kind of incidents and you've been a police officer where it makes you, maybe it's a racist issue, then that needs to be investigated, you know? The ones that are involved in this. Holding back raises for people because of a few bad cops or a few situations that are going on right now is, I think, in my opinion, not a good deal. You know, you're talking about the clerks and the you know, all that. The people that cut the grass, the people that help the city look as good as it does. You shouldn't hurt the good police officers and the good workers in the city because of an incident that needs to be investigated more. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am. But you know what, ma'am? I'm gonna make it clear. I wanted the police to get a raise. I still want the police to get a raise.
No, I want them all to get a raise.
Yeah.
I also want all the, like,
Yeah.
just like you said,
Yeah.
everybody, the clerks, the operators, everybody.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say this here though. What I said from day one, I didn't care about the police getting a raise. The chief came to me and told me who all he didn't want to get a raise. That's what I had an issue with.
Oh, no, I agree. No, I agree.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you this here, for the record. And see, one thing about this here, once we leave here, we can always go back and watch what we said and how we said it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for the record, I have nothing against the police department. And far as the chief, everything you said, we talked about it.
Right.
Being friendly in the community.
Right.
And you know what? And I'm talking about, you see the age group. And see, I wish that we can feel comfortable with the police department like you. I really do. We know they got some good cops, but see what's going on now? And this is what you might not realize. See, I can say Kip, President Kip. From our community, we had black cops from our community.
Right.
And Miss Ernestine, no. Miss Stacy, no. We done had black cops from our community.
Right.
So when we have issues, we never sit there and say, we don't want no white cop.
Right.
We want a cop just to come and solve our issues.
Correct.
But she called the police and she went to jail. So don't get it wrong.
No. I completely agree with you. And maybe there needs to be some discussion like this gentleman here to where maybe it's taught more to law enforcement, or maybe it's, maybe it's something we can talk about more. And listen, and just to your other statement, I have to tell my children, I have 2 boys, and they're both very headstrong. I have to explain to them when they get older, if you get pulled over by a police officer, be quiet. Don't make any sudden movements, be quiet. Don't, you know what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying, but I do feel like a lot of these council meetings, it takes the police department as a whole and makes them, point out the good that we have here too. Take this situation, let's learn from it, and let's investigate it, just like you said, because I believe there needs to be an investigation on it. But let's also give credit where credit's due. We do have a lot of great police officers, and we're losing a lot of police officers because they're not getting a raise. They can go to neighboring parishes and make a whole lot more money.
Yeah, but you know what though? I'm glad you brought that up. We are losing officers.
Good, we're losing good police officers.
But you know what though? We losing good police officers because of the bad leadership. So let's see, when we say something, let's say it all. So I agree with you. Yeah, we losing good cops, but we're not losing them because of the money.
Right.
We losing them because of the bad leadership. And see, the police, they talk to me. I ain't just met them yesterday. I've been talking to them. Right. So the problem is, and see this, I'm glad you brought that up. For the record, it need to be known that, yeah, they do deserve a raise. They deserve everything they get. The workers too. I talk about everybody, and everybody know.
Same, I am too.
Yeah, so I'm more about the little man than anybody. And what you said, and here we be in different colors, and we know this, so we don't have to say, you don't see my color and I don't see your color. But this the relationship that the city need to have with my community.
I agree. No,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So what you saying is right, but you know what? I sure wish that you was up here, that you can help me out, because guess what? It's a lot trying to do it.
Well, Councilman, I talk a whole lot, so whenever you want to talk, let me know. Thank you very much.
I believe this was a racial profile situation by the area or the place I was in, the neighborhood I was in. And that's how this whole altercation came to be, because they racial profiled me, went in my car, got my medicine when I told them it was my medicine. But it was a racial profile situation by the neighborhood and the area that I was in, which I was on Mooney Avenue, where I was on White Street.
I say, man, don't keep saying Mooney bad now.
It was in that facility or that area, so it came out like that. It was just about me being in that area or in that facility. That's how it became that they came into my car and addressed me. But that's what it is, a racial profile by the area.
Anyone else from the council?
Yeah, I would like to circle back to the resolution that we're talking, oh, we got another one.
I wasn't going to, but I am now, because I think it's important, it needs to be said. So Carolyn Harrell, 2208 Shuri Drive. I don't think anyone is objecting to having a referral to the DOJ. In fact, I would like to share with you that in 2016, the Obama administration to open an investigation in Chicago PD for a use of force incident. And I'd like to quote U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch for the results of that investigation into that incident. And she said, "The city of Chicago does not give its officers the training they need to do their jobs safely, effectively, and lawfully." So your comment is extremely important, because for the last 3 years, I have stood here and watched a whole lot of no votes for funding and resources and vehicles to better equip and train this department. And that is desperately needed. We agree with you. Thank you for that very important comment. And I also want to leave you with a quote from the Chicago Tribune on the same investigation. I don't know where the Daily Star is, but I think they would agree with me that the Chicago Tribune is a reputable source. And I quote, excuse me, I can't get it up. Thank you. "Although the DOJ report and results are critical of the police, it suggests that these officers are also victims who are desperate for a change." So we welcome that investigation, because what will be looked at is the entire city council, the department, and the votes for resources. I know you understand how those resources come to these departments. So I do hope you think about those votes next time when they ask for funding and training, because we have officers now that pay out of pocket, ma'am, for their own training because they can't get the funding. So thank you very much for that.
And ma'am, just 1 second. No, ma'am, I'm glad you said that. And see, far as them grants, everything, when the police department come before us, Charles, I think he out there now. When he come before us this time, and he talking about a grant for the police department, this time he gonna explain the details, how he get them grants. See, that's the part that you don't hear what's going on. When he get them grants, guess what? Social justice, social rights for black, for white. See, that's the part be left off when he get them grants. But this time, now that you mention it, that's going to be read, and guess what? From this point on, whenever they get a grant, the booking room incident, that report going to go with every grant. I'm glad you mentioned that. So from now on, they'll know who they getting the grants to. So as far as the training, any training they ask for, whatever handcuffs they ask for, whatever bulletproof vests they ask for, whatever guns they ask for, guess what? I vote for it. But in the meantime, how they been doing? Oh, we got a problem. The cars that they ask for, everything they ask for, guess what? You're just not going to get it like that, ma'am. We have a budget that we have to control. And I'm going to do my best to control the budget. And the grants, now that you brought that up, that's what you don't realize, how they been getting them grants off the back of the black people that they've been beating and getting away with. So yeah, that's how real it is. That's what you don't know, that ain't nobody sitting here telling you. But for next time they come up with a grant, you gonna see how they get grants. For the sewer, when we have sewer issues, they get the grants off of District 3, off the black women's with kids. That's how they get the grants. But guess what? How much go back into District 3? See, you don't have no sewer issue. You don't have none of those problems. Guess what? I have to hear every day, whether it's raining or was it the sun shining. This is what I deal with. God knows, I ain't have no idea I was going to take up this here, but I didn't know the sewer was that bad.
Councilwoman Gonzalez, you.
Yes, I just want to circle back to the resolution. This report, this 150-some-odd page report that we spent a lot of money on, has about 17 recommendations. This is number 2. It's almost the exact wording, which is to refer the report to a couple different entities. One, I have a couple things to say. One, the American Civil Liberties Union is not recommended within this report as a entity to refer this to. Also, I don't know for sure because I don't do much work in this area, but I don't think that the American Civil Liberties Union has any power for criminal investigation and or prosecution, so I don't know why we would refer this to them. So if we could flesh that out, that would be helpful. And then also, there are so many really, really good things in this report, and that was said when we said we wanted to do this report. It's not about just the booking room incident, but how can we change things and determine what we're falling short in. And there are some things that are probably needed, and I'd like us to go past just this resolution and come up with some other things. There's also a few things that are recommended in this report which we know that are already implemented. So it makes me wonder how much he looked into the actual handbook and the policies and procedures, because, for example, it says have all officers wear body cameras. Well, we do that. We voted on it. We funded it. We know that actually is there. An intervention policy. He said in front of us that there's no intervention policy. It's in the handbook. It actually is there. So I think it would be great if we could, and I don't particularly want to hire an attorney or another expert or someone to, look at this and then look at what we do and determine what it is. Perhaps this is something Andre can quickly say, these are the 17 recommendations, these are the ones that, hey, we're already doing, or we're close to doing, we should probably add this. Maybe that's the civil service attorney. I don't know who that is, but I'm just putting that out there. Let's go past just this resolution and see what HPD needs us to do to make it better, and focus on that so we can move forward. And that's why I was very happy to have 2 weeks to review it and not have to vote on it last time.
Anyone else from the council?
Can I say something, please?
Not right now, sir. Not right now. You'll get a chance.
Anyone else from the council? Okay. Can I get a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Aye.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Councilman Wells?
Aye.
Resolution number 2.
A resolution to authorize the Hammond Barbecue, Inc. to sell beer on the city's property line within the boundaries of Southwest Railroad Avenue from 100 yards south of Coleman Street to West Thomas Street, Coleman Street from Kate Street to Southwest Railroad Avenue for the hours of 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Thursday, March 24th, 2022, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Friday, March 25th, 2022, and from 10 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. on Saturday, March 26th, 2022. What's your name?
My name is Brian Shirey, 900 West Colorado, Hammond.
Good evening.
Hi. Good evening.
How you doing?
I'm not going to take too much of y'all's time.
Oh, you all right?
Long-winded. I've presented you with just a quick overview of our event the first time we came for these same resolutions. We've only had one event since then because of COVID. So just to refresh your memory, Hammond BBQ Inc. is a 501c3, and we produce one event each year. Our first event was in 2003. Since that time, we've given over $500,000 to local charities. Primarily TARC is our primary beneficiary, but we have a full list. It's there on our website at hammondbbq.com. It's a 2-day event. It's a Friday evening and a Saturday afternoon. We wrap it up by 5. It's a barbecue event. This year will be different in that we are not going to have our professional teams. In the past, we've had 40 to 60 professional teams come, and we were on the east side of the track set up with them, and on the west side and to the south, across from Brady's and Steakhouse and into those lots that go south toward Old Covington. We do our local teams, and that's really where the primary money is raised for the charities. The professional side it funded itself just to be more of a spectacle because of some COVID restrictions. And also taking into account how much parking we displace in downtown Hammond. The downtown is doing very well, and when we started this almost 20 years ago, downtown Hammond was not doing so well. So instead of displacing all those cars, and because of the COVID restrictions, we've elected not to have the professionals this year. So it will be a local event. The money will still raise money for the local charities, and realistically, we're looking for a new venue for next year so we can bring the professional teams back, and they come from 13 to 16 states each year, and Hammond's been a destination, and we have a waiting list for that aspect of it. Just of note to the council and for your constituents and for anyone, one of the complaints that we've had in the past is you can't buy food, you can't buy the public, there's nothing for them to do because it's not a fair. It really is a barbecue competition for charity. There are two ways that the public can eat. We set up a vendor, a food vendor. Hammond High Pro Start kids and actually Springfield Pro Start kids come. They learn how to man. They help to cook. We have adult supervision over all of that, and those plates can be sold to the public. It's very good. All of the Piggly Wiggly in Hammond actually donates a ton of the product, including the meat and the sides. So all of the proceeds go directly back to the local charities. A note: our board is all volunteer. We're not paid anything. We keep enough money to start up the next year. And then there's also Tip to Taste. The public can come out on that side, on everywhere that we'll be setting up with professionals. They don't feed the public, but our local teams have the option to cook extra food. The public comes out. It's no charge. But, you throw a couple bucks in a bucket and they'll give you a rib or a piece of chicken or some sausage or whatever they're cooking that they're not competing with, because all those teams are competing for trophies. And again, on here, everything goes to the charity. It says 100%, 99% what we save for the rest. On the second page of what I've given y'all is just a little brief timeline. We'll reach out to the DDD to send out an email blast, and then also to the we'll hand walk these instructions in this to the businesses, particularly those that will directly affect offsetting their parking from, like, say, Brady's south to Steakhouse. In this map that you have,
Very professional.
this is my I did that. This is from year before last. But everything that's in red, that was our professional side where it affected all of the Kate Street parking. That is not going to be in play this time. So it's just everything down here. So it will affect, like I said, the Brady's and the Steakhouse parking lots. That's everything. Do you have any questions for me?
I'm glad it looks like y'all are able to get it back together. And, for a while I thought y'all may not have been able to have it. And, as far as the parking goes, I mean, let's just face it. The busier Hammond gets, the more events downtown. I mean, that's just going to be an issue we're going to have. So no matter if it's a barbecue or any other event. So, I mean, I know it's inconveniencing, but it's inconvenience for me to go downtown, have my business, have to find a parking spot. It's just downtown life. So, I mean, it's always going to probably be an issue and worse issue as years go on and it grows. So I'm glad you're able to get this put back together, and hopefully it continues for many years.
Thank you. I saw most of you at our first event that year. I hope you bring your families and encourage your constituents to come out and support. It's just a good family event.
You still have the chicken, the little.
Do the chicken little.
Where the kids can compete.
cook.
That's pretty cute, yeah.
And the details are at hammondbbq.com. Anyone's welcome to call me directly. And, put in a team, and that's the fun. Get some family members or guys or girls together, throw a team together and come and just hang out, cook. And
Yeah, Mr. Bryan, you see I'm ready for you, huh? Yeah, how you doing?
I'm trying to stay off your radar, brother.
Good. You good. No, look, you had called me, and I see you done switched up on me, huh?
Yeah, we talked about going in Murray, and the footprint just didn't work out. We were wanting to utilize the new parking space by the pool, and but when we went and actually walked everything out, we're going to put the stage. We wanted to put the stage in Murray and then put the backyard teams around, but the logistics didn't work out when we actually went out and walked it all off with the wheels. So,
all right. No, I said that, but I want to tell you thank you for reaching out to me on this here, and I'm glad you decided to do it. Because you had scared me for a minute because we talked. And then I didn't see or hear from you.
Yeah, well, we had a few changes of plans, but we were able. Actually, I got with Lacey with some of our challenges, and she helped me work through the logistics. So thank you, Lacey and Mayor, for It wasn't, we were ready to abandon it, and through my conversations with y'all, and then working through the logistics with the administration, we decided, and then through general public feedback, like, when y'all gonna do it, so.
Yeah.
It's been going for a couple of years, and we're ready to do it, so.
And so, Mr. Bryan, I'm gonna say this here. I thank you for continuing this Hammond barbecue, but Mr. Bryan is a prime example on how you need to do things. I'm saying he reached out. I don't know if he reached out to all the council, but I know he reached out to me, and we had a good conversation. And I just appreciate how you did everything, and you know how professional you was in doing it. And what did I tell you from day one when we was talking? Didn't I say I was okay with everything you was trying to do?
Yeah, you did. I
Yes.
appreciate that.
And I appreciate everything
And
you
each
do.
of the council that I reached out to. So
Yeah.
Thank y'all. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your service. And this is just something we're really proud of for the city. It's really the only big event. Everybody's got the Strawberry Festival, Italian Festival, and the whatever else festival. So we're happy to do it, and we hope the community will come out and support it, continue to.
We thank you for your executive board, and again, the conversation that we had, I think this would be something good, along with coming back off with the air show, with bringing things back out,
Yep.
getting people back out and involved from being shut down so long, being able to get out and enjoy. I think this would be something good for the city. I really wish the other blueprint could have worked out with what you had discussed, but I think this would be great.
Yeah.
And again, thank you guys for putting it together.
Well, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public? Pleasure of the council.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilman Wells?
Aye.
Resolution number 3.
A resolution to authorize the Hammond Barbecue, Inc. to obtain a waiver of the open container law on the city's property lying within the boundaries of Southwest Railroad Avenue from 100 yards south of Coleman Street to West Thomas Street, Coleman Street from Kate Street to Southwest Railroad Avenue for the hours of 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Thursday, March 24th, 2020, and 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Friday, March 25th, and from 10 a.m. to 11:30 on Saturday, March 26th.
Same thing I just said.
Anyone from the public? Anyone from the council? Pleasure of the council.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Councilman Wells?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Shire.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Resolution number 4.
A resolution supporting the submission of a $25,000 grant application to the State Farm Neighborhood Assist Program for improvements to Clark Park Playground. Charles Busher.
Good evening.
Need them, Charles.
As Councilman Gonzalez mentioned earlier, we had some hurricane damage in Clark Park, specifically with respect to this project. We had a tree that came down, took out the swings, took out some 2 to 5-year-old play equipment, a bench, damaged some surfacing, damaged some safety fencing around the play structures. We were trying to work with recreation, grant some permits, trying to work with recreation on looking to see what might be out there to repair those damages. This opportunity came along. It's a $25,000 grant. Talking with recreation, they have about $25,000 to $30,000 that they're able to commit to the project. So we're hoping with the combination of this grant, if we're successful, and the funding from recreation, we'll be able to repair those damages and actually improve the playground, similar to what we're planning to do in some of the other parks hopefully this next 12 to 18 months.
Anyone from the public? Anyone from the council?
Yeah, I have a question. Look, Charles, did you say the city gonna come up with some money, or?
The recreation department has about $25,000 to $30,000 in their budget that is available to go to this project. And so if we get the grant, the idea would be to use those funds as matching funds. We're working on a quote now to figure out what those costs would be, but my best estimate right now is we're probably looking at about $50,000 to $60,000 to replace the damaged equipment, add some new equipment, repair the surfacing, basically get that playground back up and running.
Okay, so do this grant calls for a matching grant or what? I mean, you lost me on that, or this just a grant that you apply for?
I believe with this grant, I'd have to double check that. I believe with this grant might be a one-to-one, so a dollar for dollar match. So if it's either no match or dollar for dollar, I'm sorry, it's been a long day and I don't have that in my head right now. But regardless, if it is required to have a match, we have the recreation department ready to provide that match.
I mean, that's something, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to call you out, Charles, but I mean, that's something pretty important to know what the grant is, if it's a dollar for dollar or not. I mean, that's one grant you have on here, and it's, you know,
If you bear with me 1 second, I'll get that answer for you.
it's the only one item on here.
I am not seeing anything about a match requirement in here.
Okay, so that's just something you put in there, right?
I'm sorry.
That's just something you putting in there, adding another 25,000 to it, right?
What I'm saying is that we're working on a quote now to replace the damaged equipment. My best guess, based on the discussions that I've had with Recreation on what we'd like to see in that park with Councilman Gonzalez, with a playground consultant, is we're probably looking at about $50,000 to $60,000 to replace the damaged equipment. This is 6 swings, 2 to 5-year-old equipment. We're looking at doing a small play structure or some freestanding equipment in place of that. Surfacing which is damaged, we're actually looking at recovering that surfacing, similar to what we're going to be doing in Jackson Park. So we're not replacing all the surfacing and having to expend 60% more on new surface, and we'll be able to recover the existing surfacing to make that playground both safer, to update it so it complies with current safety standards, to add new equipment to enhance that playground. So the match is not required. We're going to be applying for $25,000 to go toward this larger project, for which I said the Recreation Department is willing to come up with $25,000 to $30,000.
Okay, all right. No,
And the last thing I'll add, not to interrupt you, is that if we're successful in getting the grant, at the point at which we would proceed with the grant contract, accepting the grant contract, I would certainly be coming back to the council to accept that contract, and at that point, if there were a match requirement, we'd be asking you to approve that match requirement. So this is not committing anything at the grant stage. This is just basically getting your support of our intent to apply for this grant to improve that playground.
yeah, so look, is the playground, are the kids playing on it now, or is it marked off?
Part of the playground that was damaged was caution taped off. There were some barricades up. We had a conversation with Recreation. I know we had some bad weather come through, so I don't know the current status of that park at this moment. When I was there last and we had the barricades and the caution tape up, the larger 5 to 12-year-old play structure was available for play. There's also like a small train climbing thing for 2 to 5-year-olds. That was available for play. The damaged parts of the playground were caution taped off and barricaded off.
That would be the swings, and there's another smaller
Correct.
toddler play structure is damaged and barricaded off.
So it's barricaded as of right now?
I cannot tell you as of right now. I have not been out there in a little while. I don't know.
Last week it was.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, and this is the reason I asked. I asked about the grant and about the matching. Because see, this time, now you heard me say it, we're gonna go into details about these grants. And God knows I have no problem when it comes to kids. So if you sit here and tell me that we need $50,000 to get the park up and running for the kids, I have no problem with it. But I do have a problem when, and I know it's not your job, that if it's not safe for kids to be over there, see how the city's setting themselves up for lawsuits? That's what I have a problem with. You know, something that we can prevent. And I guess I can be the first one to make the motion, huh? Or can I do that right now?
Let me ask this one question. Anybody from the public?
Well, all I wanted to say was, I'm all for parks, and I'm glad we're doing this, but I just want to say to see the same focus on the urgency of getting things done in other parks as Jackson Park in my district. Took about a year and a half to get a 15 by 15 cover on a covered pavilion. That's about the size of garages. So, took about a year and a half. So, just like projects in Jackson Park, we finally get moving after several emails over and over and see what's going on. Been there for 6 months, the money. Now we finally getting into gear. Cage Square Park, great park, love it. Glad we keep upgrading it. The play set was done in most record-breaking time I've seen a city do anything. They got that play set up and going, which I'm glad. I'm glad because everybody used it and it looks nice and did a great job. But it needs to be fair across the board, and we need to concentrate on all parks like that if we have the money there and not drag it out for whatever reason. So just want to make that clear.
Well, to that point, I could say that we in the grants department have been working closely in preparation. There have been several grant opportunities from Land and Water Conservation Fund, which we're going to be using for Mooney Avenue Park. There's a program called Love Louisiana Outdoors, which I may have been the last time I was here. That was a $400,000 opportunity for Z. Murray and Martin Luther King. This came into play. We've been working together on Jackson, which is not a grant project per se, but we've been trying to provide whatever assistance we can. It seems like over the last year or so, we've made a lot of really good contacts in that field, so we're happy to help coordinate things. And when funding opportunities come along, it does sometimes kick things into gear, even though with a lot of our grants, there's still that we apply, we wait, then we wait some more, we get the contract, we wait some more, then we get things going. But at least it gets everybody kind of focused on a part or a project and starts those dialogues. And yeah, I mean, we could very well in the next 18 months, 12 to 18 months, be doing something in pretty much every one of our parks, which I don't think the city has done since probably 2007, which probably followed some funding that came down through Katrina, if I had to guess. It was before my time here, so.
Yeah. Well, that being said, and I'm gonna say something now. That's one of the issues that we was having in Mooney Park. Mooney Park, you haven't done that in the Mooney Park in 12 years. And what the city been doing, putting $25,000 to the side every year for the parks. And Charles and I, we looked at the video from the past, and within the 15 years or the 12 years, you can sit there and say what they have done in Mooney Park. And what they did in Mooney Park in 12 years, plant trees, nothing else went in Mooney Park. And so now we looking that Mooney Park is starting to move, but the process is still slow. And that's what Councilman Sam was talking about. That same urge that you have, you or the administration, we'd like to see that in every park, because guess what? The parks are not for us, they are for the kids. And so I thank you, Mr. Charles. And now that we know it's not a matching grant, so those are things that need to be said, where all of us will know what's going on, whether it's a matching grant or not. So.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to that, that's on me. If there were a match requirement, it would be in the agenda item. Like I said, it's been a long past couple of days, so I apologize for that. But that should have included myself as well as everyone else that there's no match requirement. Whenever there's a match requirement, it's in the agenda item.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Pleasure of the council.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Councilman Wells?
Aye.
Thank you,
Thank
Charles.
you.
Thank you.
And final adoption of ordinance, old business.
Final adoption of an ordinance establishing a temporary 365-day moratorium on the acceptance and processing of subdivision plats, site development plans, or rezoning amendments for multifamily housing within the city of Hammond, providing for variances and providing a severability clause. Councilman Divatario?
Yes, we've had a discussion about this. This has been in discussion for a while now, started several months ago. I feel that it's what's right, and for the people and for this community to put a pause right now. Let the studies that we're paying for come in, review, make any changes, hopefully plan for a better, smart growth throughout our city. And I think we're in a good position in our town to have so many parcels left and available to actually be able to be a part of the growth in the best way that we can allow to be developed. And I think we're all doing a good job moving that direction. And I would like to make an amendment. I would like to amend the 365 days to 180 days with an option to extend. Andre, what would be the correct way to do that to make sure it's written correctly?
You would just make the motion to amend from 365 days to 180 days. And there already is a provision that talks about
The option to extend, yeah.
You just need to change from 365
to 180 days, yeah. So I would like to make a motion to amend from 365 days to 180 days.
Before we go further with that, is it clear that you've taken out the stuff that the Housing Authority didn't want? Because I don't know if that's clear, because that's not what's linked here.
Oh, look,
What was introduced was the full regular one, and if the only thing we change is 365 days, then nothing's changing but that number.
Correct. So the only thing that would change is the number. Now, we did, again, as I circulated, changes to address the comments that were made at the introduction, to remove much of the language just in the whereas section, not the guts of it, not the details of it, just removing references, the details of the Housing Advisory Committee, to simply say that the council created a Housing Advisory Committee, and the committee is expected to make recommendations regarding single-family housing, and that the city would change if unlimited growth happens before the city can review and consider the recommendations of the Housing Advisory Committee. That is the only reference to the Housing Advisory Committee. Everything else would be stricken through. So if that is the wish of the council, you would make a motion to make that change as well.
Yeah, well, we discussed
We'll
about...
vote on this one first. I think
Okay.
you take them one at a time, but that is
Okay.
certainly something, Councilwoman, that should be discussed, as well as the application to existing permits.
So we could make a substitute
You
motion,
can take
put
one
them
at a-
all in one.
yes. I think my thought is you take one at a time, because you may have different votes on each one. So the first one, you have a motion, you're just waiting for a second.
Second.
So this is just to amend it to replace 365 to 180 days. And you may want to call for comment, Council President, if there's any comment.
Anyone from the public? Anyone else from the?
How you doing? Hello. I'm Benson Starwood, 216 Chapter Road, Lafayette. Howard also mentioned when you, this terminology that you have, are you guys gonna rephrase the multi-housing to define it? Is it multi-housing, or does it cover duplex and single? Are you gonna make that part of the?
That would be the subject of a separate motion if that's a motion to be made. The only motion on the table right now is to change from 365 to 180 days. That's the only thing on the table right now.
All right. Anyone else from the council? All right. Ms. Lisa?
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilman Wells?
Aye.
Now, the housing amendment that we were taking their verbiage
Yes.
off of there.
So basically, all we're doing is removing the detailed language in the first whereas paragraph, second whereas paragraph, and simply stating that the Housing Advisory Committee was formed in 2020 by the Hammond City Council, and the Housing Advisory Committee is expected to make recommendations to the city regarding single-family housing, period. And then to make it clear that we're dealing with single-family neighborhoods, and that if the city would change if unlimited growth of development and multifamily housing would occur under existing ordinances before the city can review and consider recommendations of the Housing Advisory Committee. That's the only changes.
As far as any applicants that have been submitted, definitely.
Let's take one at a time.
Okay.
So that would be to strike that language, making detailed references.
So where we at as far as, let's see, which one is the one with
So
the?
it's the first paragraph and the second paragraph.
Yeah, therefore, be known.
Yeah, and just adding single family to the fifth whereas.
See, I accept that.
And it's just in the whereas section, doesn't deal with the specifics or the substantive part of the ordinance. And that was in response to public comment from the introduction. So Sam, you can make that motion to amend it as I've described, if that's your pleasure.
Yeah, all right, so we're taking care of, let's see.
It doesn't have anything to do with existing applications.
Exactly, yeah, so that's what I want to
That'd be
clean
a
up,
separate-
yes.
That'd be a separate motion.
Okay, so that's the motion,
That I've described.
Yes.
The changes, just to those whereas sections.
All
Doesn't
right.
change the substance of the moratorium.
exactly, okay.
You just need a second to that.
Second,
motion.
yeah.
You made.
I make the motion, yes.
Second.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Leon? Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
And Councilman Wells?
Aye.
I would like to make a motion to amend it to strike the provision in the section 3 where it can be renewed for a additional period not to exceed 180 days. If we're doing a 180-day moratorium, I don't think it would be appropriate to say you can renew it for a full 100% of that time.
Well, that would be, we're changing the 365 in both sections, but that would really be to strike the whole paragraph 3? Oh.
Or, no, just the part about it can be renewed for an additional period of time not to exceed 180 days by resolution.
The way it reads now, it says, if the city council determines that this 300, would be now 180.
You're on number 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the
Of
bottom.
ordinance, yes.
Yes,
Of-
therefore,
of-
yeah,
of the
okay.
substance.
Yeah.
So if the
Okay,
city,
then it would be the strike all
Strike
of
the whole
3,
paragraph.
yes.
so that would be, if that's your intent, you'd
So-
make the motion to strike the entire paragraph 3. And that's your motion, Councilwoman?
Yes.
Second.
So that's just changing the 365, but it's still leaving it as for an option for the 180 days.
So what it does is it strikes the whole notion of, in this ordinance. Now, the council can decide, as you get closer to the 180 days, if an extension is necessary at that point, you can then
Yeah.
bring back up to extend the moratorium for additional time.
Right.
Exactly.
So this just removes that from this, but does not prevent the council from deciding within the 180 days that it should be extended. And then there'd be another public discussion and.
Exactly.
Well, at the end of the day, in 100 days, you can amend it how many ever times you want at that point, 30 days, 60 days, 180 days. So really, the option is pretty much, can be changed anyway down the road.
Correct.
So, yeah.
It doesn't preclude it from being
Yeah.
extended. That's a motion and a second to strike paragraph 3.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilman Wells?
Aye.
And Councilman Leon?
Aye.
You may want to make if it's your intention to state specifically that this moratorium does not apply to existing applications.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I would imagine since it's not in effect yet, I mean,
It'll be in
effect
effect
now,
tonight.
today, so
It'll be
therefore, if
effective
anything has
tomorrow.
been submitted in, I mean, I think it's rightfully that it's not affected.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah.
But I think it needs to be stated
Okay.
because this is,
So,
this is the actual
Yeah.
is the issuance.
okay.
Issuance of that. So if they've already applied for it, I believe those ought to be
So-
allowed if they've met the rules. So what the motion could be is this moratorium will not apply to existing applications.
So I'd like to make a motion that this moratorium will not pertain or affect the existing applications currently.
Second.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilman Wells?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
New business.
No, you have to do a motion to.
Oh, yeah.
Approve
Now-
as
Ask for
amended.
public comment
My
as
bad.
well.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Is you, Joe, you talking about addressing?
You're
this matter?
talking about something different, I think, yeah. I'd like to make a motion to approve, do I need to say with all the amendments?
As amended, so the amendments are, you're changing 365 to 180. You're striking the language in the whereas section making detailed reference to the Housing Committee. You're striking paragraph 3, dealing with the extension, and you're stating that adding that it does not apply to existing applications. Those are the changes. So your motion is
Motion.
adopted as amended.
Yes. Make a motion to adopt as amended.
Second.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Wells?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Who am I missing? Councilman Divatario?
Yeah, I think I said aye already, but I'll say it again if you want me to.
Somebody
Aye.
write it. 'cause I
Can I vote twice now?
Leon?
Got them all. It's just that time of night.
Council, Joe Mayor. There we go. How about now? Good evening, council. My name's Joe Meir. I'm the current chairman of the Housing Committee, and just want to kind of give you guys an update on what's been happening on the Housing Committee quickly. The Housing Committee has met and reviewed the proposals that were submitted after our RFP has went out. We got the proposals back. We had 4 proposals to review. We have done a scoring of all the proposals, and our committee meets this Thursday to review what we've got so far, and we should be able to come back to you guys at the next council meeting on the 22nd with a recommendation from the Housing Committee. I'll answer any questions if you got any questions.
I don't really have any. I've been pretty kept up to speed. I've been to a few of the meetings, and if not, I've asked other, members. Think y'all, doing a good job, and I just wanted to press, always, I mean, I know we're on a time crunch, but I also don't want y'all to rush on anything just because I think y'all need to take y'all's time and do a good job and don't feel pressure and rushing to do anything and picking the right consultant, going through it. And, if y'all need to make any amendments, and if, y'all short of a little money, not saying that it's there or not, but I would like to do it right and at least have the city council, everyone, look at it if y'all need something else to do it, continue doing a good job. So I just want to make sure we're all in this together, at least I am, and I want to do what's right and best for the community, so.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we've got some deadlines of time deadlines that we're trying to meet, and we were actually, it took a little longer to get all the proposals, and not that they were late, just we're only meeting so much as a committee.
So we're on that timeline now, and hopefully we can get our part done within that time frame to give it to you all to handle from there. Okay?
Again, thank you and your committee for the work y'all putting in on this for us. Okay. All right, new business. Final adoption ordinance number 1.
Final adoption of an ordinance to declare the mail apportionment status of the current districting plan of the city's single-member election districts of the city of Hammond, utilizing the population data from 2020 federal decennial census and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Lacey Landrum.
Any other questions from anyone from the council? All right. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilman Wells?
All right. Final adoption of an ordinance 2.
Final adoption of an ordinance by Adrian and Vanessa Wells and Lillian Scott to revocate a portion of Kansas Street right-of-way and re-subdivide 2 lots in Block 5 into lots 14A and 26A, Colonial Place subdivision located at 707 and 809 Mooney Avenue, in accordance with survey by William Bodine, PLS Zone RM-2.
And this is a right-of-way revocation for a portion of Kansas Street. The zoning commission met on January 6, 2022, and recommended approval at a 4-0 vote.
Any questions from anyone on the council? Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilman Wells? Councilman Wells?
Abstain. I don't know what's going on.
All right. 3, final adoption.
Final adoption of an ordinance by Richard and Deborah Sims and Doris Wingfield, owners, and Umberto Mata, applicant, to rezone a portion of Lot 3A2 to conform with existing zoning of 3A1 and 3A2, as shown on a survey by William Bodine, PLS dated 7/12/2017, from RS-11.A to MX-C, located at 2405 Old Baton Rouge Highway, RS-11.A.
And this is a rezoning of the portion of Lot 3A2 from RS-11A to MXC. The rezoning would conform to the surrounding area, and the zoning commission met on January 6th and recommended approval 4-0.
Any other questions from anyone on the council? Can I get a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilman Wells?
Abstain.
Final adoption on number 4.
Final adoption of an ordinance, TA-2021-04-00022, text amendment to UDC, order number 14-5364, Article 6.1.1, residential single family, to revise description in regards to boats on trailers.
And this was also an amendment that was asked by you, the council, for the planning commission to give a recommendation on the ordinance, and they just recommended that we strike section, a portion of section 6.1.1 for boats on trailers that would not be included in that oh, I can't speak, I'm not even gonna try. But instead, make sure that trailers be on hard surfaces, and then allow for a 7-day exemption for temporary storage.
All right, well, I wanted to, I think 7 days is a long time. I definitely am a little concerned about policing the day count. And I use that word as, just who's going to count the days, and if they're going to, going back and forth, moving it, bringing it back, the day count starts over again and put it in the yard. So, I would like to, I'd like to make an amendment, moving it from 7 days to 1 day. Because, if you need to move it there and move it out, go ahead and, that's, I'd like to make an amendment from 7 days to 1 day.
Is that realistically enforceable?
Is any of it, who's going to enforce any of it? At the bottom line is, you don't want a boat in the yard. You want a boat in your yard right now, and next door to you, where you live, like in the front yard, abandoned? Steve, I'm going to ask you, do
We
you?
can't have it.
Okay.
It's in our covenants.
Okay, but
And so we need to make sure too that these ordinances don't override HOA covenants and HOA restrictions.
Which HOA restrictions allow you to park your boat in your yard?
No, they do not.
That's what I'm asking. You said, how would it override that? A HOA
I
is going to
said-
be
I-
more restrictive
yeah, okay. I'm
in the
just-
city.
I'm just making it
Yeah, I
clear
just wanna
that
make
this
sure.
is not going to interfere with what subdivision HOAs can and can't do.
Could. If the HOA allows you to park a boat wherever you want to, this will prohibit it.
Okay,
You're in the
so
city,
it can,
it
it
will.
can, it can enforce it stricter, it can't make it weaker.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
But I think Councilman DeVittore, you just said if you can't be what can you enforce, and why are we even passing an ordinance?
Well,
Question whether it can
We
even
can
be
enforce it.
enforced.
Well,
No, I'm saying he
well,
said
no,
the question whether it could be.
what I mean is that by having a day count, it makes the whole thing muddy when you're approving it 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 7 days, to where if you're just not allowed at all. Huh?
Yeah, well, you just have no days.
Well, I would like that, but I was trying to be a little open-minded to somebody who legitimately, this is how it would work. If you're going fishing or you're going somewhere, you pull your boat. Normally, anybody I know, they don't pull their boat and put it in their yard, in their green yard, and not parked on a hard surface. They go ahead and leave it wherever they're going. But if for some reason they had to bring it back to their house and they parked it on the grass, something for a day or so, I think that would have been a little more realistic as far as a day, a night, they're going fishing, they park it there, and then rolling out. To be honest with you, I couldn't care less, because most of the people that I know, they're going fishing, they're going to leave their boat in a storage or go fish. They don't put it in their green yard. They put it on a carport, they tuck it away somewhere, and that's just how it is. If it's broke down, it's a hardship. So it's a hardship to where if it's broke down, they can't get it out of there. Well, they're going to be excused until they get it out of there. It's a legitimate deal. They should have a hardship if it's not allowed there. If it's some reason they can't literally physically get out, or a death in the family, or something of that nature.
I don't think anybody's looking to be the boat police.
Yeah,
And
no.
and look, there are problem areas with folks that are abusing
Yes.
the prohibition from boats on trailers, and they're parking them in places everyone would agree are inappropriate.
Yeah.
The problem is that can't be enforced the way the ordinance was read.
Yes.
So that's why we're looking to change it.
Yeah.
So it could be 7 days, it could be 1 day, it could be 0 days. Any one of those will be enforceable. Now, to your point of the day count does become more difficult. As you increase the days, it does make it more difficult to enforce with the day count. So reducing it from 7 days will make it easier to enforce.
And that's what I was getting at.
Yes, removing all days would make it easier to enforce.
I was about to say, wouldn't that just clean it up just to say 0?
It would, you
And
just
then-
want to
and then-
account
and then there's
for
no
the guy.
argument.
It would.
I'd like to correct myself, then I'd like to make an amendment to move it from 7 days to 0 days.
So you would just be removing the allowance for the temporary storage.
Yes.
So that if someone came home and left their boat on their grass and their neighbor didn't like them, they could call and complain.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, yes.
The whole idea, we're just trying to clean up everything. This just the start, Next thing, we going at with the vehicles in the yard. So
Broken down.
the boat is a good thing to me. But when we get to the vehicles, it definitely gonna affect me in my district. But guess what? How can we get a clean area if we don't start somewhere. So that's all we're doing, is just pretty much just trying to start cleaning up things.
There's a motion to amend it to
0
remove
days.
the 7-day temporary allowance.
Second.
Otherwise, as recommended by planning and zoning.
May I ask a question just to understand what we're doing? So if somebody doesn't have a paved driveway or a gravel driveway, they cannot store a boat at their house, is that correct?
It's got to be on driveways or approved hard surface.
Put it in the backyard.
It can be in a
They can store
carport.
it in the back.
It can be in a
Put it
garage.
backyard, huh?
Not in the
Backyard.
Backyard.
Can be in the
Yeah,
backyard?
Backyard, just don't in the front yard.
Yeah, because this deals with, it's in the section dealing with residential, single family, and it deals with storage.
But it says no outdoor storage is permitted in front, side, or rear areas
Visible from the street. Visible from the
So you
street.
have to have a fence that would be tall enough to prevent.
Or slide your boat behind the house so it's not visible from the street, yes. So we have a motion.
And a second.
That just removes the temporary allowance.
Yeah.
Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Councilman Wells?
He's Councilman Leon today.
Leon.
Yeah.
You're confusing Leon and Wells.
I said Councilman Wells.
He
Yeah,
said,
you need Leon.
yeah, you
You
said-
need to go Councilman Leon.
no, you said Leon and Councilman Wells said aye at the same time.
Oh, okay. That wasn't my fault. That was theirs.
All right.
We getting tired.
All right, next line, section, introduction of ordinance set for public hearing. Introduction number 1.
Introduction for an ordinance by Starwood Management Company, LLC, and Alice Sheridan to revocate a portion of George Perkins Senior Drive right-of-way and re-subdivide 3 lots in Block 5 and Block 6 of Colonial Place subdivision located at 609 Mooney Avenue and 701 Mooney Avenue in accordance with a survey by William Bodine, PLS Zone RM-2. Jeffrey.
This is just another right-of-way revocation for a portion of the George Perkins Senior Drive. The zoning commission heard this case on January 6, 2022, and they voted unanimously in favor 4-0.
I just want to make a comment here on this. And that's just, I know it's Starwood Management, and, the last meeting, the way he conducted himself up here, to me, to all the council, I don't really think that was a professional way. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm opposing this, but people who come in here and sit at that podium, whoever, no matter who you are, they need to respect the council. They need to hold themselves presentable up there and actually, act professional and respect the environment they're in. So I just wanted to make that clear.
And now that being said, who we get to enforce that when somebody don't act appropriate when they come up here?
Council President.
Okay. All right then. Thank you.
I get a motion to introduce.
Second. Councilman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Aye.
Councilman Leon?
Aye.
Councilman Divatario?
Aye.
Councilman Wells?
Abstain.
Public hearing will be scheduled for February 22nd, 2022 at 5:30 PM.
Introduction of orders number 2.
Introduction of an ordinance to rename Mooney Park to Gibson Memorial Park. Councilman Wells.
Thank you. It all started, we say homeboys in the community, but it all started when Christopher D. Gibson, when he passed away with COVID. And by it being a new park now, and I'm trying to change the old things that was taking place in the park, I'm requesting to rename the park, not only behind him, but Mr. Rudolph Gibson, ones that been in the area, they know what all Mr. Gibson done for us with the school board principal, his wife, Miss Idella Gibson. She was a school teacher. So the problem that we have in our community, that we forget about the past. And some of these was the pioneers in our community, Roger Gibson. All these was pioneers in our community. And I want to start doing this here, streets name, parks name, anything in our district, we're gonna start naming these streets behind people that we know that did plenty of work in growing our community. Cause the park right here, the land was donated by my neighbor, Mr. Joe Miles. Didn't have no idea. My grandfather and my uncle donated the property where they bought the property, Mooney School. All that come from our families in our community. And in order for the community to continue to grow and for everything that was produced in the community, look how these guys sit here and sold their property to the city just for us to have places to go to school in and just for us to have places to play in. Because I met with Mr. Joe Miles' granddaughter, and she was telling me everybody used to play in their yard. And we got a long history of what's going on in our community. Good history, not bad history. And so I say from this point on that I'm gonna start recognizing the people in my community. And from the park to the streets, everything, we're gonna start getting these streets renamed from people that we know about that did great deeds in the community, was pillars of our community. Because it wasn't mentioned, but I mention it now. Mr. Butch Robinson, Eddie Robinson, Coach Robinson, Uncle Robinson, from Kip District, N.A. James Funeral Home, was a great man, was a pillar in our community, but yet it's Black History Month. And not only Black History Month, we don't get a chance to share what goes on in our community and people that's doing great things. We're not talking about a drive-by, we ain't talking about a killing, we talking about great things that these guys are doing, but yet they're not getting the recognition. So I just wanted to, I know you probably forgot about it. I just wanted to mention that and what Councilman Kip did, you know, getting in touch with the governor and doing that. And I'm saying, and I appreciate everything you did, President Kip. And these are the things that we're trying to do moving forward and making Hammond a better place. And a lot of people might not want it to be a better place, but we still have some wanting to see Hammond grow in a different direction, not for one person, but for everybody, black and white. Thank you.
Can I get a motion to introduce?
Make a motion.
Second.
Councilman Andrews.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Aye.
Councilman Leon.
Aye.
Councilman Divatario.
Aye.
Councilman Wells.
Aye.
Real quick on that. I wanted to say I didn't know anything about the Gibson family, and I spoke to someone in the community who told me a story about Rudolph Gibson involved in the, he helped in, it was a march in the, Dr. Garrett's told this story of protecting a civil rights march that Mr. Gibson did, and I thought that that would have been something very nice to include in this, so I asked that person to write something up, and I'm going to submit it to whoever prepared this. I thought that would be a nice thing to add.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Public hearing will be scheduled for February 22nd, 2022 at 5:30 p.m.
And then, at this time, I'd just like to thank everyone that attended our meeting on tonight. I'd like to thank my council tonight for all the hard work that you do, that you put in for your community, addressing the needs of your constituents, putting your heart into what you do. I just want everybody to know that everybody that sits at this table has their heart in what they're doing, and it's evident and it's known. And I thank you guys for putting in the work and thing that you do. I thank the city as well for doing the part that you play. But can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.